Morning, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut with Bobby Atkins. How you doing, Bobby?
Doing great. How you doing, Ed?
Good. And this is the Veterans edition of Real Estate Jerky. Or we can just say we're going to talk about things that are relating to VA and veterans and everything else. I think on Tuesday we talked about benefits and how if you should go for your benefits. There's a lot of companies that will help you out there. The thing that they take is they take a certain percentage of your first check. So like a lot of times if you put in for it and you get a big rating, your check's going to be 20, 30 grand. They'll take 20% off the top.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad because they do all the work.
I can say if they're doing the work, right?
Yeah. I mean, because if you go through like disabled American veterans, they'll help you out, but they're not going to be there at the appointment with you or do all the other stuff. They're just going to help you. That's who helped me when I first got out. And
Gotcha.
He's like, put in for this. My medical records were like 5 inches thick because I worked in physical therapy, picked up, and I got hurt a lot.
Gotcha.
So, and they're like, you put it in so many complaints, you automatically got 10%. Okay. But the problem is I went to go back. I know this is something we just got off on the subject. Went to go back in like probably 15, 20 years ago. And then the guy was helping me, left the VA and it didn't go through. And now it's so much online and so different now that it's so much better.
Yeah.
Back then was all paper. They didn't have that. Where like when we do COEs now, that certificate of eligibility, if you were out in the last 15, 20 years, it goes through right away. If you're further back than that, it can take a few days because they actually need your DD-214 and other stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I want to bring that up because everybody's like, they might not have their DD-214. So the DD-214 is what you got when you got discharged. The one thing they said, don't ever lose. Did they say that to you when you got out?
Oh, for sure. And I have it.
Yeah, I have mine, but this was, I think we talked about it before. They told me, have it recorded at your local recording.
Oh,
office.
yeah. You mentioned that. Yeah.
They changed the service ID to your social security number back in the 50s or 60s. You don't want to do that. Because I remember I had my dad's Foot Lockers and they had a social security number on all of them.
Yeah, they weren't thinking ahead, were they?
They weren't. Well, it wasn't so easy to steal people's identities back then.
Yeah.
You actually had to physically take it.
Yeah. And
not like today.
Delaminate the driver's license and put another picture in there.
Yeah. A lot more work than it is today where they can do it, or they can, shut down the different Vegas casinos and steal all your identity that way and then threaten to give us millions or we're going to release everybody's identity.
Really?
You didn't hear about that? Freaking Caesars had an attack. They paid 15 million, and now MGM has been like since last week.
Oh, wow.
And they're not paying so far. And I'm like, the problem with paying is just like what we just did with Iran. Oh, we want our prisoners. We want $6 billion.
Yeah.
And the question is, if you're giving it's prisoners for prisoners are swapped. There's no paying $6 billion, but they did. And now there's such issues because of that. I don't know if you heard that they're now coming back and saying, we're not going to do this now. Now that you're in this place, we're not going to support you. We're not doing it's messing up the whole region.
No kidding.
Yes. Freaking this. When I was in, I couldn't bitch about it, but I can bitch about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need somebody else in charge. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. I'm just looking at it from I don't care what party's in place as long as they're doing what's best for the American people. Yeah. But I think this government forgot who the American people are.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, man. I mean, for the most part, it's a uniparty, right? You got a few outliers that might go in there and shake things up, but they all go out to lunch after.
I think what we should do is get rid of the parties.
Yeah.
And just have individuals. And they don't have parties. They have to all get voted. But then, again, because the problem is this whole party thing's all messed up. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about real estate and loans.
Yeah.
And stuff about VA.
VA and veteran related stuff.
But it did because the current government is the reason why we're 5 to 6% higher than when we were in interest rates. So, because the Fed had to come in and do what they did because of the spending. And I don't care how many times people say, well, I cut the deficit. And you didn't.
See, what Congress needs to do is they need to go through my financial peace class.
No, what they need to do is fix this and say, anytime there's a government shutdown or we lose, I think Warren Buffett said he could fix this problem in a second, that, if any of this happens, the current people in Congress are not eligible to be in Congress anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do, but nobody will do that.
Freeze their pay.
No, tell them they can't be. If we go through these lockdowns and different stupid things that they do, you say, okay, then going forward, if that happens again, you can't be a sitting person of Congress. They would make sure all this stuff is fixed. There's no, it's just, I'm tired of it. Anyway, move on. All right. So we talked about on Tuesday, we talked about how we can get repairs taken care of during the process of buying with a VA home loan.
Correct. Yeah.
Also, we didn't talk about if there was pest issues. Vets can pay for pest repairs, not pet repairs, but pest repairs. But I mean, some of the issues since I brought up pets, when you have a dog outside, they come to the door, they scratch it with their paws, like around the wood and everything else. If you're going to have a VA appraisal done, go through and do some little primer and touch up paint. It doesn't have to be sanded and perfect. It just needs to cover up any bare wood.
Now, question, is there a cap on the amount that a veteran could pay for pest repairs? Because sometimes it's like 10 grand.
No, but it's a cap by what they probably have in their bank account.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what you can do is VA only wants a short form pest report, which just says there's no active pests. And a lot of pest companies will do that. I'd say probably, I should take it back. I'd say about 30 to 40% of the pest companies will do that. There are some pest companies that we won't do that because California, no, that is your own personal statement, not California.
Mm-hmm.
If it's only required for a loan a certain way, that's all you need to do. They want to do the whole thing. They want to get the money from it. So if you're going to do a VA loan or a purchase, or, you're listing the property and you're going to have a pest company, the first thing I would ask that pest company that's coming out and say, hey, if we need to, can you do a VA short form in case we get a VA purchaser?
Gotcha.
And if they say, oh yeah, no problem, then that's the pest company you want to use anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to call around and ask, because the one that I normally use, they told me no. So.
Right. Well, there's other ones who do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a local one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Local guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you one out of Tuolumne that's down here also.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah. They're, I mean, it's just working with agents and working with people to get it done. Right. Done.
Well, and honestly, with a lot of these estimates for pest repairs lately, they've been going up.
Inflated? It's inflation,
and it's not really to cover the cost of lumber. It's more like, hey, the market's not crazy like it was before, so they're trying to find some extra work.
Well, what people don't realize, and I've said this before, is the pest report, they do it for $75 to $100 some dollars.
Well, it's $125 now.
Yeah. So that's a loss leader. They don't make money on it. They cost them more, probably their time to do that report.
Yeah.
So when they find, I've never seen one without any issues.
No.
There's always something they find shocking.
Yeah.
That's at least $800 that they want to take care of. Because I remember when I put my house on keepsake on, I went through and vacuumed in the garage and the crevices and everywhere, just in case, it was on a slab. They found stuff. I'm like, how did you find stuff?
Yeah.
In the cracks? No, you didn't.
Yeah.
But can you argue with them? No. So, of course they find that the earth is too close to the side of the house, and no, it's not. But anyway.
Yeah. And it's going to be $200 to dig that out.
Yeah. All right. I'm just complaining. So what I did is I went through, yes, I knew one side the mound was a little, could be, but it was up against the foundation. And it was like, come on, it's not touching the stucco goes down to a certain point, and then there's a vent, and then you have the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's not really that. So I went and cleaned that out, and not a big deal. And the one on the other side was rock. I'm like, what are you talking about? The rock is going away. It's perfect. That's what the rock is there for, is to get rid of water in case there's extra water. But anyway, I'm just saying they never find nothing. So a loss leader means, like, if you go into a grocery store, cans of peas are 10 cents, and then you go in there to get those, but you spend another $100 on everything else.
Yeah. Oh, same with roof inspectors, right? Like, there's one company that I like that they're above board, but the rest of them, they're going to go out there and they're going to find something. And this one house, it was only like 8 years old, right? And so they inspect the roof, and they didn't find anything wrong with the roof, obviously, but they said, well, the gutters do need to be cleaned out. We could do that for, I think it was like $900. I'm like, no.
Bobby will do that for $350.
I just couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Come on, just give us a good report.
Yeah, well, they got to have something, and not every roof's going to be perfect. I mean, tile roofs might have a tile moved a little bit that needs to be fixed or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff is not that expensive. You can get somebody else to do it. Again, loss leader means that they're going to make their money off the other stuff. And that's why, like you said, it's a little bit more expensive. And we talked about that before. Get a second opinion. Go with an outside contractor to see how much it was going to cost you for the same stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen it be half sometimes. But, that's just, I'm not saying that they're all doing that. I'm just saying it could be. I don't need the calls after this.
The only thing then, though, is they won't give, if you need a pest clearance, they're going to charge you again for a reinspection if they didn't do the work. So,
right. But that's,
keep that in mind.
But that's cheaper than sometimes their costs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you get an estimate that comes in way below, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying get a second opinion and go, hey, I got somebody else who can do it for this. Will you do it for that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, are they going to say no?
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, just, hey, I got 3 other bids on this and you're like the highest. Right.
Yeah.
So, but at least get other bids, because that way you know where they're falling in line. And that's a good way to keep not that they're unrespectable, but for pest, companies to stay in line with the current market.
For sure.
All right. Anything else? Well and septic. Most of the time, we don't usually need anything for the septic for veterans, but there is always a well test usually on the well. They want to make sure they're drinking good water.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And with some of these wells and some of the stuff that's going on, there could be some stuff in the wells. So you want to have it checked.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a veteran buying a house.
Yeah.
Even if you're going conventional and everything else, I would still get it checked.
Well, and, going back to the septic, just regardless, as a buyer, if there's a septic system, even though it's not a requirement for VA,
you still have it checked. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. Because more often than not, there'll be something wrong with the leach field, or gosh, the whole thing needs to be replaced. It's pretty rare they don't find some kind of issue with it. So,
well, I've had it where they've checking it and they broke it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they broke the junction box. That's what happened. I was going to put God, I tell you, these days I'm getting old. Gotta get some stuff from memory, but
ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of. Horseshoe pit. And so I wanted to come out and find out exactly where my leach lines were. And there was these flags all over the place that they put, and then they didn't understand what they did or whatever they did. But usually they drop a thing in there and they follow it through the leach fields to see where they go.
Gotcha. And
they dug this hole. I could see the dirt was moving. Then the next year it's leaking out of there. And so that was a pain in the, but come to find out, we had to have the whole thing repaired. And when they went in there, the leach lines were everywhere they talked about. They were all over the place. What happened? There was a first set that was done. Then there was an issue with so the tank was a 2-system tank, to where there was 2 lines going out, one at the top, one, just for 2 different leach fields.
Mm-hmm.
The original one, and then the second one they put in. So my guys went in there, ripped everything out, and redid it.
Gotcha.
So long story short, just be careful when they're checking. They could actually make it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But ours is good now. It'll be good for a long time.
Awesome.
Yeah, because they brought in rock, what they're supposed to do. Because I remember as a kid, helped my dad build one in Colorado. He dug a big hole.
Oh yeah, it goes. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was huge. I remember but I was a kid, so it always looks huge to me. All right. Anything else you got, Bobby? Been going?
No. Well, I was going to say, I guess it's not really, well, maybe veteran related, but took the kids to a Castle Air Museum in Atwater.
Mm-hmm.
Because my middle one, he is just super into World War II bombers. So if anyone's here in the area and you haven't taken the kids out, I highly recommend it. We were out there for about an hour and a half. That's how many planes they had to look at.
They're actually bringing the B-2 bomber here to Modesto.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was in the Normandy.
Oh no kidding.
Yeah, I'll get the flyer for you before you leave.
Cool.
It's in my email or in my PowerPoint, because I talk about it at Rotary.
Awesome.
Because it was the guy, Ron, Rotary, was giving it to me. So I'll give it to you before we go. Because then your kids can go to that. Because it sounds like your kids like going to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They love museums and history and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, it's all fun.
They're like their old man.
All right. And, we're getting up on the whole, the D-Day. Then we have Pearl Harbor coming, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Veterans Day.
Yeah. Most important thing, Veterans Day.
Yeah.
But don't just reach out to a veteran on Veterans Day. Reach out to them every day. I've been seeing more and more guys, and I say, thank you for your service. And the older guys are like, huh? How do you know? It's on the hat on your head.
Yeah.
Because you're the only guy around here wearing it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bobby, for being here. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Ed.
And we'll be back next week.